The Extraordinary Rendition of Janos Farkas. Chapter 34. She wanted to luxuriate in the bath, sink to chin level and blow canyons in the bubbles. But her sense of urgency, her sense of a job half finished, made her dress and hurry to the American embassy. If getting into the embassy in Berlin was difficult, it was almost impossible here in a Muslim country. She showed her American passport to two fully armed Marines at the entrance to the compound. One disappeared with it. "It is good," he said when he came back. The other took the passport and held it close to Ein's face, his eyes moving from the passport photo to the real thing. "All right," he said. They led Ein to a security gate. "Give me your purse," one said. "And if you have any metal objects on you, you better give me those as well. The scanner will even pick up the fillings in your teeth." "I don't have any," Ein replied. "And take off your shoes." "What for?" "Just take them off, please." Ein did as she was told and stepped through the scanner gate without incident. On the other side, once her purse had been refilled and her shoes returned, she was led to the main entrance to the embassy. Another Marine, this one in full dress uniform, met her at the door and took her to another security check. She watched as the security officer scanned her passport. Again it was held up to her face. "What is your name?" the officer asked. "Ein Thompson," she answered. "When were you born?" "July 17th, 1984. "Where?" "Madison, Wisconsin." "What color are your eyes?" "Hazel. I think kind of a greenish hazel." "Hazel is close enough. You'd be surprised how many people don't know the color of their own eyes," the security officer said with a smile on his face. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to see Paul James." The smile disappeared from the officer's face. "How do you know James?" he asked. "I met him in Berlin. He said he was being transferred here and to look him up if I ever came. Well, here I am. He's only been here a few days. I'm not sure if he's ready to see anyone on official business. This is personal." "Oh," the officer replied. "I see." The officer picked up his phone, but before he could dial a number, the elevator behind them opened. A figure in a dark suit and sunglasses stepped out. It was Paul James. "I saw you out of my office window," he said, "when you were coming through the compound. Welcome to Damascus, Miss Thompson. I was just about to take a walk. Get to know Damascus a little better before I become too official and can't go out on my own. Would you like to come with me?" "I'll get security," the officer said. "No," Paul replied. "To the people of Damascus I am still a nobody. No security. I don't want to stand out like a sore thumb." "You are hardly a nobody, Mr. James." Paul ignored the remark and, taking Ein's arm, went out the door. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered to her as they crossed the compound. "I've had too much to do to find anything out about your problem. And," he continued, "if I can do anything about it, I don't want it to be seen that I am doing it because I know the man's wife." As they passed the Marines at the entrance, he said loud enough for the Marines to hear, "I hear the Al-Hamad souk is quite an experience. It's the big covered market at the center of the old city. You should be able to find some souvenirs there to take back to America. It's that way, isn't it?" he said to one of the Marines, pointing to the right. The Marine nodded. "Security, sir?" "None needed, Sergeant. Thank you." They walked through the din of the daytime traffic of Damascus until they came to the old city where the streets were too narrow and jumbled for cars, and the sounds were as old as those of civilization itself. The sound of clatter, laughter, hawking, and bartering. Inside the souk, the corrugated roof shut out the sun, and when their eyes got accustomed to the darkness, they saw a hodgepodge of retail stalls selling everything imaginable and some things that weren't. Between the stalls there was a constant flow of humanity, ebbing and flowing, toing and froing, moving both ways like the mouth of a river at high tide. Above them, rusted through spots in the roof, shone, like little stars in a tale from the Arabian Nights. They stopped in front of a stall selling brassware. Paul picked up a candlestick and held it up to look at it. Turning his body as if to search for a brighter spot of light, he said quietly, "We're being followed." "Why?" Ayn asked, pointing at the candlestick as if she were interested in it. "You don't understand," Paul replied. "I am new here. In embassies in Muslim countries, new things are not trusted until they are proven. Do you know what I am here? I am 2IC. If you don't count the ambassador, and the ambassador is always the last to know in sensitive countries like Syria, I am the second most powerful man in the embassy. I am only 31 years old, and I've made it to 2IC in one of the most sensitive bases we have. But even a 2IC is put on a probationary period. As long as I don't screw up, I'll make 1IC before I'm 40. That's probably who is following us, the 1IC. It's what I would do if I were 1IC. Being here with you is compromising." "Shit," he said, pushing the candlestick at her. "I think you should buy the candlestick. Make it look like you're actually shopping." "Shit," he said again. "Can't," she said. "You're right. It is shit." Paul looked for an explanation. "The candlestick," she said. "It's shit. It's cheap shit." "Like a lot of other things," Paul said, the smile tight and thin on his face. "Besides, if I buy the first thing I see, then you're going to make some excuse to leave. And I'm not going to let that happen until you tell me what you're going to do." "How do you know I'm going to do anything? I might not." "You will." "Why?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to let it be known that you were the one who told me my husband has been the victim of an extraordinary rendition and brought here illegally to prison. It's far Philistine, isn't it? I'm sure your 1IC would be interested in knowing this. And I'm sure whatever American news reporters are in this country, they would be even more interested. Are you threatening me?" "Yes." "You're right. The candlestick is crap. Let's see what else we can find." They walked along the souk looking at T-shirts, carpets, knives, and swords of Damascus steel, cell phones, electronics, clothing, and a whole lot more brass. At a leather stall, Paul picked up an intricately tooled purse and handed it to her. "I will do what I can," he said. "I don't have access to all the files yet, but I'll do what I can." "When?" "Soon," he answered. "Where can I reach you? I don't want you coming to the embassy again." "I'm staying at the Four Seasons." "If I can find anything out, I'll leave a message there then. It will be from PJ. Whatever you do, please don't compromise me. Will you do that?" "Yes," she answered. "Promise?" "I promise," Ayn said. "I will not compromise you. I will not try and contact you, as long as I hear from you within 24 hours. Paul's face tightened. He pointed over her shoulder. Ayn turned, not knowing what to look for, what to see, what to fear. When she turned back, Paul James was gone. That's the end of chapter 34. Tomorrow, chapter 35.